Town of Lake Clark Shores Code Enforcement Board hearing, February 26th, 2025, 6:30 PM. Emily, would you please call roll?
Yes. Chair Paul Hughes,
Present.
Vice Chair Gerard Sanchez,
Present.
Board Member Deb Moody,
Present.
Board Member Wesley Cook,
Present.
Board Member Miguel Espinosa,
Present.
Board Member Patricia Keough.
Okay. I think we're going to stand and do our pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the January 22nd meeting and the cases which are now in compliance. Everyone's had an opportunity to read the minutes, and is there anything that needs to be added or subtracted?
Yes, Chairman Hughes.
Eric?
Yes, for subtraction, I spoke with Bill. We're going to remove item number 10, which is case 24-0414. That one is to be removed from the agenda, please.
That's page 2.
Oh, yes, I apologize. Page 2,
Yeah.
item 10.
Okay.
And that is the only subtraction that I have.
Okay. So do we need a motion to continue that to the next meeting?
I don't think it's going to be pursued. The decision more or less is that no business tax receipt would be forthcoming for that use at that location.
Okay.
So you can't very well make him apply for one if the use would not be appropriate.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. At this point, we'll ask that if any of the board members have anything particular to comment about a visit or a property they're familiar with, if you would please close that at the time we pick up the case. Swearing in of witnesses. If you're going to speak before the board tonight, if you would please stand and be recognized and be sworn in by the town's attorney. Chief, are you?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will give me the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can. Eric, would you like to go in any particular order tonight?
Well,
based
first
on
let me
who's
read
here?
off the cases that are in compliance.
He already asked you about.
With anyone
Well,
that,
that was for the consent of the agenda. Then they usually ask me what cases are in compliance.
Part
No.
of the consent agenda.
no, anyone here that's going to speak tonight on a particular case, would you like them to come first?
Sure. We can take it out of order. We can start on page 3, cases 25-0013 and case 25-0014.
If there's no objection, we'll take those up now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Eric?
Okay. What we'll do is we're going to hear case 25-0014 because case 25-0045, I'm sorry, give me one second. case 25-0014 has come into full compliance as of this evening. The building inspector went out there at about 4:30 PM. So an engineer letter was provided, which is all that was missing for this. So that one is now in compliance. We'll hear,
So there's a permit now.
there was a permit, but the main thing that was needed from the building inspector was the engineer letter, which was provided,
Okay.
reviewed, and approved
Okay,
as of 4:30 PM today.
okay.
So we will hear case 25-0013. And bear with me for a moment. Good evening. I'm Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores. This is case number 25-0013. On 1/16/2025, a notice of violation was issued for section 10-91 sub A. A new fence was installed without a permit. On 2/14/2025, a notice of hearing was issued. As of today's date, these photos were taken showing that the property is still in violation. I have spoken with the property owner who is here tonight and wishes to speak. He has been working with me and with the building department to get this taken care of. Spoken to Melissa. This property is on tomorrow's agenda for building inspector Joe Kochek to go investigate it and to go inspect it. So it's my recommendation to give a little more time, seeing as this is a scheduling issue, not on the property owner's side, but on the town side. So would you think 15 days?
Does it take 6 weeks to get a permit,
Well, there were two violations. There was one for a dock that was built,
right?
which did take precedence because it required, two types of permits. You had to get a permit from Lake Worth Drainage Districts, which they did do. Then you had to get a permit through the town and the engineer letter per the building inspector. So I believe I can speak for the building owner to say, I'm sorry, for the property owner, that he wanted to focus on the most difficult one first. The fence is a little bit easier. So the property owner can speak further, but from the conversation I've had, that's my understanding.
So why does the building official have to go out if a permit hasn't been applied for yet?
It has been applied for, Deb.
Okay, so they did apply for the permit
He
for the
applied
fence.
the permit. He's going to review it and inspect it tomorrow.
And when was the permit approved?
They do
What
also
was
need,
the permit applied for?
Initiated, yeah, initiated, I guess. The application approved, so
The 18th.
the,
Of February?
Yes, well, here's the issue. So he applied for a permit prior to this, but he applied for an owner builder. So he had to reapply, and then he had to get a new survey
When you say he had to reapply, what do you mean?
because he was applying for a permit as an owner builder.
And he cannot do that?
Cannot do that.
So he tried, but he couldn't, and then he had to, okay, get a contractor to do it for him.
Correct. And he was also waiting for a survey, a new survey, updated survey,
Okay, I'm just curious why he couldn't apply as an owner builder.
because it's a rental property.
Oh, I see.
No, I need a permit for,
would you like to identify yourself?
yes, I'm
sir?
James Phillips, owner of 7500 Westlake Drive. I do know I need a permit for a fence and a dock. I did have a LWWDD permit for the canal. It's a Lake Worth Drainage District canal. My understanding was it's not a town-owned canal, so a town permit wasn't required. They informed me it was, had no problem, went through that process, got that closed out. So I did have a permit from LWDD before that construction started. For the fence, I applied for a permit was approved, happened to be a 5-year-old survey. It was approved. I believe the city changed building inspector companies from hybrid to the county. The new building inspector wouldn't approve anything with a 5-year-old survey, even though the permit was approved. So I did owner builder. I don't live there. It's also not rented. There hasn't been a tenant in there. So I do occupy the property. with my belongings, but I don't live there full time. But I withdrew the owner builder, not a problem. At that time, the permit that I had previously approved was canceled because I withdrew the owner builder. And I just hired a contractor to go file a new permit. The original permit, it was approved without easement agreements. The second time around, I was told we need easement agreements. Got all 5 of those. That's in the new permit package. So that took some time to get those easement agreements. And so I started out with intention to have a permit. I had one. New building inspector didn't like what was previously approved. We did a redo. And that's why I have a second permit now.
Melissa, when can we get this done?
I'm gonna say this week, no later than like Tuesday.
Okay. Thank you,
Should
sir.
be all done. He's gonna go out tomorrow. He's going to do plan review tomorrow, so should be this week.
I've seen that fence, or I know the street. And does the fence need to be moved away? It's kind of close to the neighbor's driveway. Isn't it pretty close? I mean, just how,
It looks like that corner lot that they purchased in the corner. That is the corner of the property where that post is. It's actually a couple inches in from the corner of the property. That driveway to the east is almost right on the property line. So the property line is just a couple inches in to the west of that edge of that driveway.
okay,
It looks like it's in the neighbor's property, but the way they're situated on the corner, all they have is access in the driveway.
correct.
The sides of all that is not their property.
And there's no like easement, if I remember correctly, isn't there like an easement, like you have to be so many feet from the property line? It's,
Sure, that's why Joe's going out there.
Mhm.
okay,
He's gonna review it and he's gonna go out there tomorrow.
Yeah,
Cool.
there's a 5-foot easement on either side of the property lines, utility easement.
right.
Utility companies have the right to bulldoze anything you put in there, whether they have an easement agreement or not. But they all want easement agreements. I got them all. That allows me to put the fence up close to the property line, knowing that if they need to come through and run a new utility pole, whatever, they can take that fence right out. I have no recourse. That's all that agreement is saying. If I didn't get the easement agreement, then I'd have to set the fence in 5 feet to give them their free clearance.
So you could be outside of the easement, is what you're saying?
I can be in the easement.
No, if you didn't do the easement agreement, you could put the
then
fence
I would be
outside of the
5
utility easement.
feet into the property.
Correct, which is outside of the utility easement, so that you don't have to worry about if they bulldoze through
In
there.
order to get into the easement, I have to have those agreements. So it's in there, they can take out whatever I did, which is fine. So that's why the fence goes up to the property line.
Someone like to make a motion? We'll Postpone this for the next meeting, or?
Yeah, I think we should, I think.
Thank you. And then owner finding violation and a certain amount of time, like by the end of next week, to come into compliance. And that would be by obtaining the permit and passing the inspection, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
That's if he doesn't have to, if they do the inspection and then they say that he has to move it, then he's gonna need time to move it.
well, I'd like to clarify. So I started that fence on the front of the property. And then the building inspector came out and said, I don't like, 30's too old, we need to do this again, right? The original permit and the new applied permit has the fence also running to the north. So what needs to happen is the fence, not only is the fence in place need to be inspected, but there's another section of fence that is going to be installed. So I don't think that the tree removal contractor with the permit and the fencing contractor is going to be able to get all that done maybe by the end of next week, because they still have to run that other section of fence.
Is it just only one side? Because I noticed it was just a section, right? I seen that. So are you planning to do the rest of your property all the way around, or?
No, just that side on the east where you see all that scrub brush and
Right.
not that big nice tree in the front, gonna leave that. But all that scrub brush behind it, gonna take that out so I can put a fence down through there.
Okay,
Gerard, we just want to make sure when Joe goes out there that he's able to have that fence there. That's why he hasn't
okay,
gone further with the fence.
all right.
And if it's determined that the fence can't be there, it'll just need to be removed,
Of course. yeah.
correct?
If,
Correct.
if it's not a compliant fence within the property, lines of the property and the easement agreements, absolutely, it gets removed.
Melissa, I got a question for you. Has the fence permit been issued already?
No.
Okay,
So he's doing plan review on site
Yes,
and inspecting without benefit of an approved permit.
correct. This is a special one.
So you, let me ask you this. So how much time would you recommend for this case? Would it be
I'd give
sufficient for the next meeting? Or?
I think so. Next meeting,
at least 30 days.
at least.
Should be able to get it done then.
I don't think it'd be a problem for the contractors. Tell me every 2 days, is it approved yet? Is it approved yet? That it'll be ready to go as soon as it's approved, I think. Probably done within a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with 30 days. If you guys want to push it to the next meeting.
Be March 26th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Okay.
We're one here. All right. Based on the testimony evidence presented in case number 25-0013, section 10-91 sub A, I move that the board find this respondent in violation, I should have said the section now, 10-91 sub A of the Town Code of Ordinances on town ordinances, that the respondent shall comply with the town's code of ordinances on or before March 26th of 2025. If the respondents fail to comply with the order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed, I'm gonna put here, this is not a permanent thing, so $50. Not to exceed $50 per day may be imposed. A fine assessment hearing will be held on March 26th of 2025, if necessary.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Any questions, sir?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Eric?
We do have another property owner in the audience, but I just wanted to make the board aware that their case isn't on this agenda. It has already been heard, but the property owner does want to speak before the board.
I'm sorry.
This is a case that was previously heard before the board. It is not on this agenda, but the other property owner that's here wants to speak before the board tonight.
But didn't we already consent to the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
If we already consented to the agenda, are we allowed now in the middle to just?
I think you can listen to them. It would be up to you.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Any objection?
No.
Okay.
Can I just mention, just so you know,
What case are we talking about?
so it is, it's in the minutes. You should see it. It's the property address is 7990 Westlake Drive. And last month you imposed a fine of $200 a day. And the next hearing is set for April 23rd to impose a lien.
And what was the case? I'm sorry.
It's, I don't have the case number here, but it's on the minutes.
Yes,
It's a 7990 Westlake Drive.
7990. 7990. Okay, this is Jessica Hazard and Michael McKenzie.
Yes,
A home remodel being done without a permit.
yes.
Yes.
And we imposed a fine of $200 per day plus administrative costs commencing on January 22nd, 2025 until compliance is achieved.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. McKenzie?
Good evening.
Good
I'm
evening.
Mike McKenzie. I'm the owner.
Okay.
I'm just curious, why wouldn't it be on the agenda if it's an open violation?
They only appear on the agenda when they're anticipated to be heard.
Okay. So I wasn't present for the last hearing because I was not aware that there was a hearing.
So you weren't given a notice is what you're saying?
I did have a notice in the mailbox, but I don't live in that house and we have no mail being delivered there for any other reason. So I don't check the mail. That if it was sent certified or to my other home address, I would have seen it, but I didn't see it until after the hearing.
And your mailing address, as far as the town is concerned, is the property?
That's correct. That's what's on Papa.
So if we don't have another mailing address, then that's it. And I would advise you in the future to look at your mail at your property, unless you give us another mailing address
Yeah,
for that.
That's what I was gonna say. If the owner wants to give me
Well,
his
that's
email
on
address.
Property appraiser, because that's the house.
No, it's your
It's the second
responsibility.
house
It's
there.
your responsibility, sir.
Property appraiser would have whatever address you want your tax bill sent to.
Right.
So your tax bill, if it's going to be mailed there as well,
Okay.
you might want to be in touch with the property appraiser.
I hope that answers that question. Go ahead.
Well, that wasn't a question, but on December 4th, I think is when the meeting was. And when we all left from here, we agreed that I needed only a demo permit. That's what was discussed. And from December 5th until now, I've been trying to get that demo permit and it's not being issued.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Melissa, he says he can't get a permit.
He can't get a permit because Joe keeps on denying it. He's had on 2/12, Joe said need to provide clarification on the scope of work. We sent it back. It came back on this.
Could you go back, Melissa, could you check and see? Because he said that he's submitted it from the 5th of December. Can you tell us when he submitted it?
No, it did. December 5th is when I attempted to submit it.
Okay.
There's a lot of problems with that MGO website. I have everything documented here from day one when I started. I don't know if you want to go into that or not, but it's all right here. The error messages, everything being submitted and Melissa's not receiving it. She's saying that we didn't upload a permit application. I have all the documentation right here. And for some reason, there's a breakdown between that website and the building department, and it's not working. Joe has only been denying it recently.
And he's looking for clarification of the scope of work. Isn't this the one where they were going to go and look at it?
I've offered for him multiple times to come to my house, and he's never come.
So Joe's denied it 3 different times because he's submitting a plan with something that Joe's not going to accept.
Joe thinks that I'm doing a remodel of the house, which I'm not doing. All I did was remove the one wall so the terrazzo floor company could polish the floor. That's all that's been done. I have plans to remove the driveway with permit and put a new one, a new pool with permit, a new fence with permit, new windows with permit, new electric with permit, and all of this is on hold because it continues to be denied.
So
And you've applied for permits for all of that scope
No,
of
I
work?
haven't. I put
Okay.
everything on hold until I can get this one, it's a really silly problem here. And
So-
we can't get past it.
So I'll read what he has on here. It says neither wall was original to house, had load-bearing electric, gas, or plumbing. They were simply walls not to my liking. They were removed to polish the terrazzo beneath. Nothing else has been done. So Joe's not going to accept that.
I spoke to Joe on Friday and I explained to him very clearly that there is no remodeling going on, and I'm tired of being accused of doing that because it's not. Any of you are welcome to go there and I'll show you the house. Nothing is going on there. And he said, okay, understood. He said to revise this drawing, send it to Melissa, and I'll issue your permit. That was on Friday. And I sent the email to Melissa. Today she responded, but I run 2 businesses. I haven't had time to get back to her yet.
So you got the drawings today.
So Deb, just so you know, I've been going back and forth, not only with him, but his secretary, and I believe it's his wife as well that I'm speaking to. So 3 different people are sending me emails. I've also offered to just email me the information and I'll upload it because he's having an issue with MGO. I called MGO and there's no issue. So I'm trying to help, but If Joe denies it, there's nothing I can do about it,
Right.
There's a photo, want to see it?
you know.
So I have a question, Miguel, your general contractor. When somebody removes a wall inside their house, what do you call that?
Well, it's definitely, I mean, I hate to say it, but if you look straight back in the photograph there to those back windows, there's no drywall or
From MGO, I continue to get.
there's no drywall or insulation on that wall,
Right.
right? So unfortunately, you know, it just says that I'm doing something, right? So he widened that opening. If he widened the opening because it was a non-structural, then all we've got to do is provide a set of drawings or something that proves that, hey, this is not, it's signed and sealed by an engineer and it's saying that it's non-structural, I can do it.
But
Because
what else
we-
is going on back there?
Exactly. So the back wall, on the other hand, where we've taken down the drywall and we don't have any insulation on that wall, we're going to have something that shows that we're going to be putting this stuff back on the wall. So I hear what he's saying and I understand them. I can't speak to the fact that he's having trouble with MGO. I mean, we've got other people pulling permits and myself included with work we do in town. So he may need somebody to help him on his side to help him know. MGO was trouble for me as well, but I use it now with multiple municipalities, so I understand it. But
I have a full-time permit person that works for me, and she is having trouble with it.
I would recommend you have her call Melissa.
She's already spoke to Melissa.
So-
They've talked through it, and before that hearing that was on the 22nd, I was under the impression that we were in compliance now because the permit had been applied for finally, and Anna had spoke with Melissa. That was well before the hearing.
And I'm willing for Anna to just send it to me via email and I'll upload it for you, since you guys are having issues. And that's been,
She's been doing that, and that's perfectly fine, I think.
and that's
every time
fine,
she
but
does it.
whatever she sends me, I can't approve it if the building official denies it.
Well, the first time I spoke with Joe was on Friday, and it shouldn't be that way. They have my phone number. If there's an issue, he can pick up the phone and call me. This is a very simple matter right here, but it continues to escalate, in my opinion, for no reason. I've offered for him to come to my house. Come, I'll show him everything.
Most of
It
the
looks
time,
exactly the same as what you see right there. Exactly.
most of the time, you would not even need to obtain a permit for the interior demolition.
That's
You would
what I
simply apply for the remodel scope of work, and the interior demolition would be part of that.
Correct. Correct. And I think we did that last time just to have him show some good faith to get the ball rolling.
Right.
At least submit a demolition permit so that we can see that everything's working and that will satisfy where we were at that point.
Correct.
So that then after that, he can then apply for his building permit and move forward. If I'm not mistaken, that's where we ended up last time.
Right.
Exactly how we talked about it here, but for some reason, I'm guessing it's Joe, and
You just have
I'm
to speak
upset that
to
he's
Joe
not
and
here because I
ask
would like him to speak for himself, but he appears to be the one that's accusing me of doing the remodel without a permit. And, you know, you can look back at the video. I looked and I watched it. Everyone here agreed that I needed a demo permit and we would move on. And then I would apply for all these other permits. You know, I'm going to remodel the whole house.
I think he's just asking for clarification of the scope of work. That's simply it.
He has the scope of what I did already. He has it. What he was asking for was the scope of work of what's going on. And I said, Joe, there is no work going on. Come to my house. Come there.
But on your demolition permit, maybe you should just say, I'm removing a section of this wall and I'm taking the drywall down of this area. And that would be your scope of work for the demolition permit
What I
solely.
did. She has it. She has the
I
description.
read you what he wrote and that wasn't satisfactory. to
Right.
Joe.
No, that's only part of what was written. That's not all of it. There's a whole scope of work with line items that Joe has seen and he still doesn't approve it.
Well, is the scope of work going beyond what would be an interior demolition permit? Perhaps that's why.
No, that's.
Scope of work is taking
That's
you
somebody's
beyond.
opinion. Right now, this is what's been done. Everybody can see it. That's all that's been done. And I need a permit to satisfy this.
Is that electrical that's
No
dangling there in
electrical
front of the
there.
refrigerator?
Gas, no electric, no plumbing.
I think,
Can Joe?
Hey, Bill.
Here, this is the original house blueprint. You can see, this is that wall. It's not even on the original. This is from 1965. It's not there. Somebody added that wall. I just took it off.
Bill,
I heard you earlier mention somebody getting their own engineer. I can full on get my own engineer and he can write a letter and I'll have this done this weekend.
Bill, since
That
his
appeases
case,
this, because
since-
this is just dragging
excuse me,
on for
Mr.
months.
McKenzie, since his situation is not on our agenda tonight, can we tell Mr. McKenzie tonight exactly what he needs to do to satisfy this situation?
Why I don't think you can do that, whether it's on the agenda or not, because it's going to be a building official decision. What my suggestion would be is there's really nothing you can do with the order that was entered
Okay,
last month. Now, if everything gets taken care of, is it McKenzie?
McKenzie?
Mr. McKenzie can come back and ask that the fine be reduced or eliminated. But I think that's the way it should be approached.
Okay, that's one. Can we, now, does Joe normally go to the homes to look at, or is this, would it solve if Joe went there and said,
I
hey,
don't think it's a matter of him going there. I think it's a matter of him providing what he wants for the scope of work. That's as simple as that.
I think Joe needs to go there because he continues to accuse me of doing work that I'm not doing. And
But
the
if
only
Joe
way to
needs
know.
Go there,
is
I will.
You only have this picture. I think, what I would recommend and prefer is if you can set a timeline, but no later than the end of this week, for Joe to finalize and approve this permit so we can close it out and come to the house. I'll meet him there any day of the week.
I agree with that, but you have to provide Joe what he needs. So I will have Joe tomorrow go out there. Is tomorrow okay for you?
Sure.
Okay. I'll give you a call and I'll set it up for Joe to go out there and I guess tell him what he needs.
basically? Yeah, I guess, and how it
He
needs,
doesn't like to do that, but I will.
And he's going to look at a fence
All
tomorrow.
right, are you okay with that, Mr. McKenzie?
I want to close this out and move on.
Are you okay with?
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Okay, then he'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you for coming in.
Okay, Bill, you're all right? Everybody's okay? Okay. All right. Moving on. Eric, so according to my agenda, we're on page 1.
Yes, case 24-0345.
Okay,
So the update for this one is that Mr. Hyatt removed what needed to be removed. However, he's still awaiting an engineer letter that Joe needs to review and sign off on. So this violation is still technically open pending a engineer's letter. Yeah, and as Melissa just reiterated, he did remove everything that needed to be removed. It's just the engineer letter that just needs to be reviewed and signed off on.
So it's like all 3 enclosures, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, he's just keeping the one that he's gonna get the engineer letter for the porch,
Okay,
and that's what he's waiting.
so the other 2
Are
have
removed.
been removed.
So is normal to wait this long for the engineering report? Is it why?
Depends on the engineer. He had one and he didn't show up the 2 times, and then he got another one. He didn't show up 1 time, so now he's with engineer number 3. But he calls me every single time.
So he's on top of it. It's not, it's,
Yeah, he's on top of it. It's kind of out of his control.
he's just getting, can we recommend him somebody? I guess that would,
We don't
Yeah.
recommend.
No.
gotcha.
When were the structures taken down? Do we have that date? That will be important later
I
on.
think it was, I could get you the exact date, but I think we have photos. Don't we have photos in there?
Yes, but it looks like, hold on.
I
Looks
know
like my
Joe-
servers.
I think
Oh,
Joe
no, it's
submitted
it's
photos.
upstairs.
Still in violation.
Showing that the,
Next one.
It is
Yeah, 'cause
until he
you had
gets the
shown the
engineer
photos.
letter.
mhm.
All right. Well, I would imagine he has to have it solved by that time. All right, I'll do a motion if it's okay with you guys.
Yep.
Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number
24-0345. I move that this board finds the respondent in violation of sections 10,
Yeah,
91.
Let me interrupt it. Isn't that been found already?
Yeah, I think we should order to continue, right?
order a continuance.
Or the fine's running, correct? Is that my
Yeah.
understanding?
Yeah.
The fine's running, so
Order
there's
to continue.
really nothing to do.
It was for a status update. It was a
Yeah.
case
Oh, okay.
status update.
So we don't even need to do anything.
Perfect.
I don't think you need any action. The fine will run until he brings it in compliance, and then again, you can deal with.
Well, it's got to be on next month's agenda, right? So how do we continue?
Well, right now it's set, I think, to be on, it's probably, let's see here, the last hearing was
Well,
in
it says on
January.
page
So it's
2.
probably going to be in April, the next hearing to impose the lien.
Yeah, it says a status update on this one
So,
today.
so we'll get an update in April. Is that what we're saying?
So on
No.
February 4th, he removed this stuff, just. or,
February 4th.
Yeah, February 4th.
Okay, but why are we saying till April for this thing? It's gonna take till April for him to get an engineer's report? Is it that take that long to do?
No, so it's the board's policy when you impose a fine to wait the 90 days before we do a lien imposition. So, let's see here.
Well, maybe it'd be prudent for us to have a status report.
So, okay, so I'm reading the order, and the order only says that a status update hearing will be held before the Code Enforcement Board on February 26th. So we haven't told them to come for the April meeting yet.
But you can, if you want him to come back in March, you can,
Yeah.
you can just do an order or no, ask.
You
that
want
a
him to come
notice be
back,
sent.
Gary? Next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah. So that would be order to continue?
No, it'd be just a request to have a scheduled status, conference status report at the March meeting.
All right,
So you move to get a status report
right, for March.
March 26th?
Yeah. I move that case number 24-0345, that we get a status report on March 26th of 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Next case, unfinished cases and fine imposition. So, case 240405,
Still in violation.
Eric,
Yes.
still in violation,
Still
no
in-
change? Any
They put a-
communication?
They put a tag on one vehicle, but the truck that you had seen in, Emily, can you pull up the photos?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna show you the photo. So there's a truck that still has no tag on it, and it's in inoperable condition because it has most of the parts taken out of it from the engine.
Holy Wiley.
So, give me 1 second, so she can show you. Shows there's no tag on it.
And he's got a garage.
When was the photo taken, Eric?
This one was taken today.
Okay.
It's lifted.
There should be another photo that's even closer, showing the engine.
And this extends back to November?
There'll also
Is that
be,
what this says?
Notice of violation November 26th.
I'm just curious, couldn't a car be towed for not having?
no, it's
tag?
private property. It's on,
But we can still do violation and everything else, even though it's on private property?
yes, you can do a violation because our code section says that you cannot have an abandoned, inoperable, or a vehicle with no tag or an expired tag. If it was on an apartment complex property, then I could reach out to the apartment complex owner and they could tow it.
So I'm just curious, have you had communications with the owner of this vehicle and this home?
We had some communication. The relationship has obviously fallen out of favor. He contacted me in a very angrily fashion. I tried to call him back. I've had no communication with Mr. Speckman.
So you don't have an excuse from the owner as to why it's been sitting like this since November?
Basically just none of my business.
None of your business. Okay. So
Wow.
that ought to take care of it.
When
as
you
far
get
as
this,
I'm
yeah,
concerned.
I agree. When the citation, I'm just curious. We don't like send a copy or I'm just like, dude, here's the ordinance. I mean,
Well, for this property, based on the hostility of the nature, I do not physically post to the property. I send by mail only due to hostilities,
Because you don't want to go on the property.
because there's the potential for a risk.
Mm-hmm.
can,
Okay.
I'm just gonna ask one thing. Chief, you tell me if you, but before it used to be actually a uniform officer that would go and put the notice on the, should we do that in this case to put it on the house? So no excuses. I'm just, you tell me.
I would check with the counselor on that. I don't have an issue with that, but there's some things in the law enforcement end that's different than in the civil aspects that you're dealing with.
I'm only because obviously Lieutenant Officer Dana Fisher used to do that, right? As part of the, you know, the officers previously to Eric coming on board. So I'm just curious.
Counselor, he could give us direction and we could go there and knock on the door and hand it to him, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been served, right? And it was entered last month.
Yes. And they're getting all the notices, because after last month's code board meeting, when the final order was sent out, within a couple of days of it being delivered, I got a call from Mr. Speckman.
Okay.
And there's really nothing, like the other case, nothing to do tonight.
Right.
The fine's running, correct?
Yes, sir.
So
Is it?
No, it hasn't
Or
been.
a fine of $250?
No, it hasn't been implemented yet. That's what we're here for tonight.
Oh,
I
okay.
think the January hearing, we only gave them a few days in which to come into compliance. And now that we're here finding out that they're not in compliance, so the daily fine we can make retroactive to January 28th, right?
Yes.
Which I would recommend.
okay. Not any, because when did it first start? Didn't it start in November?
This has been an ongoing issue for several reasons. Just so the board members know, next month, this property will probably be coming back to the code board for other violations.
Okay. Well,
Okay. So the furthest that we can go back on this violation is
It's January
January 28th. We
28th.
can't go any further.
Right.
No, because it was one-off vehicles being worked on with like oil changes and stuff that any normal resident is allowed to do. And then it evolved into what looked like a full-on business.
Okay.
so we need a motion to impose the fine. Is my recommendation.
Number 3, I think, right?
3, yeah. Go for it.
Okay, I'll go for it. Let me make sure of this one. Yeah.
No, because they haven't come into compliance yet, so,
It's an ongoing violation, right?
right.
All right, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 24-0405, I move that the response be found to have failed to comply with the order finding the violation dated January 28th of 2025. A fine in the amount of $250 a day is imposed commencing on February 26th of 2025.
January 28th.
Oh, I mean, January, I apologize, hold on.
January 28th.
January 28th of 2025, and such fine shall continue to accrue at a daily rate until compliance is achieved. In addition, the town's cost in prosecuting this matter shall be assessed.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jerry. All right, new cases.
Yes, sir.
James, 240412, Fitzmaurice and Gabrat.
That is correct. Good evening. I'm Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores. This is case number 24-0412. Site property owners are identified by James Fitzmaurice and Douglas Gabrad. Site address 7512 Westlake Drive, Lake Clark Shores, Florida 33406. On 12/5/2024, a notice of violation was issued for section 10-91 sub alpha. Septic is being worked on without a permit. On 2/14/2025, a notice of hearing was issued. As of today's date, these are the photos that I can provide you. However, you cannot see the septic tank because when they were digging. So on the right side, you can see where there's no grass because that was all dug up. Behind the fence is where the actual septic is. So unfortunately, I can't show it to you, but as of today's date, per the building department, no permits have been pulled. No one has contacted me. Melissa, has anyone? No one has contacted the building department. It is my recommendation to impose or to possibly impose a $250 a day fine. I do not believe any more time is warranted, seeing as I've had no communication.
Can I,
So that means probably the health department hasn't been,
It's, yep, they pulled nothing from the health department either.
so how did we find out about this? Because did they have a company come in and do something and while
This
you're.
actually came in as a residential complaint, but this went to the utilities department because there was water that was protruding from the property. So residents called in believing that it was a water main rupture or something of that nature. I actually got a call from PD because they called into PD, but it's really a code matter. So they relayed it to me. I went there. I did see that there was a nominal amount of water coming out, but that was coming from them draining a pool into the street. But while I was there, I observed there was a septic crew there, one of their big work vehicles, and there was a trench that was dug alongside that line. And in the back, I could see, but once they saw me, they actually closed the fence, so I couldn't get a photo.
So
And
are they allowed to drain the pool into the swale or the right of way without a permit?
well, per the utilities department, based on the amount of water coming through, I spoke to Damon, who is the utilities director, and he was okay with it because when they tested it wasn't chlorinated water, it was fresh water, which probably means it was a very yucky pool.
okay, so
Wow, okay.
I would have thought they need a
Yeah, I
permit
thought it would
for
need to be
that.
chlorinated, but let me ask you this. We got a crew, a septic tank crew coming in. They're doing work and they damn well know that you need to have a permit, especially the job that they do. So did you by any chance get the truck or the company or whatever? Because it's not only the residential owner, but I think also we got a company who's running rogue here
Yeah.
on a serious matter. So
Are you
what,
sure that they weren't just pumping the
No,
septic tank?
it wasn't a pump truck. It was a septic company because I know the pump trucks. This was not a big, septic drain vehicle. And again, we've had no communication from the property owners, and they pulled nothing from the health department. So
Eric, do you know or you don't know whether they actually are replacing the septic tank or the drain field, or
no,
you don't know that part?
no, I can't definitively say. This is just what my investigation has led me to. And because the owners have not spoken to me, the health department or the building department, we have to go with the worst case scenario.
Right.
Because as you know, we had a situation over a year ago where we had that septic tank that was leaking. So I take all of these very seriously.
Mhm. All right, so we don't have a permit, and they've not made any attempt to.
Zero
communicate.
contact.
and we've posted notices, I guess, on the door physically, we've
Yes.
mailed, we've done
So,
everything possible to communicate with these folks.
and as you can see, this is obviously, they're trying to do a remodel on this. Once I violated them, everything has stopped because even the grass is gone dead.
They're doing a remodel. Do they have permits for a remodel?
No.
They don't have any.
No, they don't.
Now they've been doing a lot.
So is it on the agenda elsewhere for,
No, because in the photos, it's only speculation. I haven't been able to confirm that they're actually doing any work.
There's an outhouse.
There's an outhouse, yes.
So
And
that outhouse obviously means they got workers that obviously
Well,
bathrooms not.
the
but
outhouse
don't you have
was-
to have a permit for that too, or whatever I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
well, the outhouse was put there when I went there and the septic people were there because I saw the septic, I saw the bathroom being finished. I saw them finishing, putting it together.
but no permit, no anything.
Mm-mm.
Did you get the company that was there?
Mm-mm. No, I was focused on seeing what was going on because my initial call was about the water. So I was focused on that. Then when I looked in the back, that's when I saw something else going on.
Right.
Is this owner occupied?
Not
It's
anymore. So this property went before the code board before because this one used to have a lot of shrubbery right alongside. So it was creating a road obstruction. So they cleared all that out. And that was my first hint that this property was probably going to be going on the market to be sold.
Let me, now we know about the 7. You got all this.
Mhm.
Do we have a right to ask them what company did they have working on that house?
If we
And
could
to
speak to
disclose-
them.
Huh?
If I could speak to them, yes.
Okay, but can we write requesting that they provide the people that were working on the working there, obviously with no permit, because this is
Bill,
twofold to me. Not only is it the owner, but you have a company that's running rogue on something that's a very serious health
Bill,
hazard.
do you have any insight for this one?
Well, I don't know any way to make them disclose it. I mean, you can, as you said, if you talk to them, you can certainly ask. But that's,
I mean, I could maybe add a typed letter and send it with a final order. Would that be?
it'd be fine to do that. And please advise, the name of the company that performed the work or something like that.
If the board would be fine, I can do that while sending out the final order.
So I would recommend that we find them in violation and give them till the March 20, or I guess we could do it
I'd
sooner.
actually recommend no
Yeah.
additional time because of no communication whatsoever. We don't know what's been done. We don't know the extent of what's been done.
So we could give them a week.
Yeah, I think you need to give them a little time to get the order signed and to them, but that's
Right.
all you need to give them.
I got a question for you, Eric. Do you guys, because you're presuming that they're doing work inside the house without a permit, do you guys have like a stop work sticker or something you can put on the door?
Yeah.
To kind of like get their attention so that it opens up, they have to open up, right? Or at least submit something, right?
Yeah.
Showing that they're doing something in the house.
So during the time period that this was first initially cited, we were going through the transition of no longer having hybrid because that was what I wanted to have happen. I'd actually spoken to Manny about it, but then we no longer had them. We went through that period. So now that we have our new building inspector, Joe Kojak, I would like for him to be scheduled to go to that property and based on his professional experience, if he sees something that he believes can be cited, to issue a stop work order and then let me know. And based on his professional opinion, I can then possibly cite for work without a permit.
Yeah.
Because just looking at it, the property has always been in a deteriorated state. So on site alone, visually, I can't say that there's work currently going on. And I haven't seen any activity since I cited them.
Well, the speculation would be that with the portalette sitting there,
Right.
That there's-
either it's because their bathroom does not work,
Correct.
residents are using it, or it's for construction.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's neither, they should remove it
Yes.
because that in itself is not pleasant for the neighbors to have to look at. And
No,
if
and you
it's
can
gonna
only have
sit there for a month,
Have a porta potty if you have an active permit open, right?
Yeah, if you're doing some sort of work.
Yeah.
So-
if you have an active permit, but if there are no permits, that should
Yeah.
not be there.
Right.
So in my experience, and that's the only thing what I was asking Eric is normally if a code enforcement officer comes about and they can't get in or somebody shuts the door in their face or they just put a stop work order in and say, look, I need to know what's going on.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know
Red
if you
tag.
guys have the right to do that or not, but I mean, I think in this case, if they shut the door in your face and it didn't let you go into the backyard, then, it smells like a duck and walks like a duck. It's a duck,
Yeah. No, in the situation, because the code enforcement authority under, statute 162 is limited, this is when then you would have a building inspector go out because the building inspector has much more authorization and authority. So
Okay.
that's the avenue of approach.
Maybe the two of you can go together.
I'm gonna have Joe go out there too. Joe's gonna be busy tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let a field trip.
Better take
Or Joe.
stickers.
Well, let's get a motion moving here.
I'll make a motion.
Give them to, I don't know, next Wednesday or Friday, 5th or 7th, whatever you.
Yeah, no
Okay.
holidays. Let's see here.
Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 240412, I move that this board finds the respondent in violation of sections 1091A of the Town Code of Ordinances. Respondent shall comply with the Town Code of Ordinances on or before Friday, March 7th, 2025. If respondent failed to comply with the order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed $250 per day may be imposed. A fine assessment hearing will be held on March 26, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
Are we, if when we oppose the fine, would that be from the date the notice violation was issued, from December 5th of 2024?
No.
It'll be
3/7.
from March 7th.
3/7.
All right.
Yeah.
So-
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next case, 250001. Mr. Gonzalez and Ms. Gonzalez.
I am Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores, case number 25-0001. Property owners identified as Louis G. Gonzalez and Elaine Liano Gonzalez. Site property address is 7108 Venetian Way, Lake Clark Shores, Florida, 33406. This property was reported to me on 1/1/2025 from neighbors living to the left and to the right of this property, indicating that they believe that this was a unauthorized vacation rental home with several people living there. So on 1/2/2025, I conducted an investigation, and notice of violation was issued for section 125-1100. This vacation rental property is unregistered and has not been inspected. On 2/14/2025, a notice of hearing was issued. I have spoken to the property owner. He did come in about 7 days ago to speak to me. The reason he didn't get in contact with me earlier is what he indicated to me was that he didn't know about the notice of violation, even though it was posted. He's not contesting it. He's just asking that he wants to do it the right way. He does want to get it registered. I told him to contact Melissa. Unfortunately, she was out on Monday and Tuesday. So he wants to do it the right way. I would recommend giving this property more time, seeing as a lot of the complaint that came in seems to have not been necessarily true, because the property owner brought me by the home to show me that there isn't 9 to 10 people living there. It's just a small family of 4 or 5. So there seems to be some kind of neighbor dispute going on. But Mr. Gonzalez has been very, very forthcoming. He's been in contact with me. He wanted to come tonight, but unfortunately he had to be down in Homestead.
So is this a vacation home or is this an investment home and he's renting it?
A family living there versus a vacation property, that doesn't sound right.
Well, he's the owner, but the people that are staying there, it's a family, and he did confirm that this is a vacation rental.
It will be used. So why does he need time to comply? He simply needs to apply for.
Well, he needs, so the process that the town put forward when this ordinance went into effect is there's a pretty rigorous process
Mhm.
that they have to go through. They have to get the building inspector to go out there and inspect it. They have to provide.
They have to provide a lot of information.
But doesn't it just begin simply with the application for such and all the other backup that goes with it?
Yes, but
Correct.
yeah, but this violation can't come into compliance until when everything's done, when the building inspector goes out there and does the actual walkthrough of the home. For all the other vacation rentals we've seen it take earliest 1 month to as late 2 months, 3 months.
I would say a month is fine.
Is
No,
this
then-
property homesteaded?
No.
I haven't been able to. pull
Shouldn't be able
Papa.
to be.
Shouldn't be.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
So
I don't think it is. I can check right now.
Papa's been down the last couple of days.
And we found out because neighbors, so the question I have was,
How long
He
has it
was-
been going on?
how long has it been going? But he wasn't aware, obviously, of our policy or the town's ordinance on vacation property rental, because I know we have it in the shore.
That is the assumption.
When did he buy this? If you're looking up whether it's homestead or not, when did he purchase this property?
It is actually homesteaded.
Yeah, it is.
Man, he bought it 2012.
How can it be homesteaded and be a vacation property?
Well, if you don't tell the tax collector.
You said January 1st, this thing, so this was
Right.
literally the New Year's Day, so that's not telling me that he was obviously already renting it prior.
Well, the notice of violation was issued on 1/2/25, but the complaint came in earlier than that.
That's crazy.
So neighbors had called me, left me a message, giving me their information. They didn't provide me any photos, so I was just going off their testimonial. And when I went there, based on the observation, I made the determination to cite them for this because we've cited other ones before that I found on like Airbnb and VRBO, even though I wasn't able to find them there. I found it necessary to cite them based on the neighbor complaints. And again, the property owner did come into the PD, spoke to me and said they wanted to go through the proper channels. So per what they told me, they want to go through the vacation rental route.
Well, that's fine, except that's in violation of property tax laws, correct?
So what's our?
And they've already had 6 weeks to gather their documents and get all their ducks in a row and apply for this vacation rental.
Well, the owner
registration.
came in about 7 days ago because again, he was stating he never received the violation, even though it was posted, and he's not contesting it. He was just simply asking for more time to get it taken care of.
So what is our responsibility or the town's responsibility when it is discovered that a property that is homesteaded is actually a vacation home and it's showing in property tax records as, it's had homestead exemption? Now, look at me, right now, property appraiser just sent out a little card like they send every year to make sure, are you living in the property, whatever, but obviously they've been renting it in 2020. Who knows?
Well,
So what's our responsibility?
once I speak to the owner further, because there's some properties where the people rent and then they live there part of the year. There's some gray areas, but let me gather a little more information. But my protocol usually is if I find that a property is a vacation rental and they're still homesteaded, I actually call Papa and report them, and they conduct an investigation. And I
Okay.
have had 5 properties that were cited for improperly being registered as homestead.
Mhm.
So
So this property is in violation.
Yeah.
And the earliest we can impose a
it's been down for the last 3 days.
fine would be our next meeting, isn't that correct?
Yes,
No, I don't-
you would not have to give 30 days
Oh.
to
We could
comply.
give
We could do it sooner
Yes,
Cement.
but you couldn't impose a fine till
Right.
next meeting.
until then.
Melissa, I'm sorry to interrupt. How long should we give someone who needs to apply or Eric? They need to get the paperwork and begin the process of their home. How long should it take on average? We'll give the benefit of the doubt, but again,
I'm gonna say probably two weeks.
okay.
Are you allowed to make your primary residence, right, your homestead,
No,
a rental?
no.
So then would he be able to obtain a,
He's not gonna be able to do it until he does whatever he has to do with the property appraiser.
Right.
So I'm not.
just quick claim it into a LLC or something and then apply for
Correct. So
the,
even if he hands me the paperwork, I'm gonna deny it and put it on
Right.
hold until he does what he has to do.
Or they no longer use a vacation.
Or
rental.
they, right.
So the other option, which
I mean,
some
he could
people
just
have,
get a rental
Yeah.
instead of vacation,
Right.
but
They still have to do the same thing.
correct.
We're already made aware that if they don't change it, then
what we have had 2 that we sent out vacation rentals to, and they canceled it from being a vacation rental, and the
Mhm.
owners just moved back in. So I've dealt with many scenarios for this.
well, they moved in, right? They had to do what they had to do.
Yes, they did.
Let's go ahead and move forward with a motion to,
So no matter what he does, it's not gonna be approved.
Right.
anyway.
All
Well,
right, but we should give at least 2 weeks is what you're saying.
mhm.
That's what I just, okay. So 2 weeks from March 14th. All right, let's try this.
you got this one?
I think so.
Mhm.
Number 1, right? Or no, I'm
Yeah.
assessing the fine.
No, number 1.
Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number hold on, I'm not looking at the right one.
25.
25-0001. I move that this board finds the respondent in violation of sections 125-110 of the town code of ordinances. Respondents shall comply with the town's code of ordinances on or before March 14th of 2025. If the respondents fail to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount of not to exceed, and I guess, how would we treat this? Just look real quick here.
Yeah, Bill, we do need a correction for the code section. It's 125-1100.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I redo it or?
Bill, I mean, probably.
Well, you can just revise your motion
Right.
to have that.
All right, if we can revise my motion to 125-1100.
1100, yes, sir.
Okay. And I guess I want to make sure to, motivate these folks. What would we consider?
We don't know if they have all of the things required.
So health and
Of-
safety. Okay,
Fire extinguishers, the pool has to be secured, et cetera,
correct.
et cetera.
Okay,
So
so if the response failed to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed $250 per day may be imposed. A fine assessment hearing will be held on March 26th of 2025 if necessary.
second,
Further discussion.
And the reason I'm going for 250, obviously, this is like Debbie had just stated, we don't know if this is
Lot-
safe,
It's got a lot
healthy.
of questions.
There's a lot of questions, and that's why we have these inspections. So that's why there's, possible harsh fine at a high level.
So you're giving them until
March 14th
March 14th. Okay.
of 2025, which
Okay.
Melissa, based on her recommendation, it would
Okay.
take 2 weeks. They
Okay.
should be able to get that paperwork, and at least we will know by next meeting what they've done.
Okay.
So, but
Further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now, we did the car. So are we down to,
25-0011.
the very next one.
okay,
So I want the board to know that this one is in compliance, but I want to discuss this, seeing as this property has been brought up on social media. There's been discussions posted about it, so I want to get it on the record that the section that was cited, section 125-767 sub B sub 7 for the unregistered inoperable vehicle. There is a classic 1950s vehicle there. It looks to be in rough condition, but I spoke to the owner. They don't want to paint it. They actually prefer to have the vehicle in that state. That's the way they like it. The owner did come into the PD, provided me with a copy of the updated registration. Lieutenant Fisher did run it to make sure that it's active. So it is active. I just want the board to know that they are in compliance. A lot of the neighbors don't like it, but from a legal standpoint, from a code standpoint, it is allowed, it is authorized, and it is legal.
we don't have a code that addresses the appearance of a vehicle.
That's correct. And this is a registered classic car. And because it'll have a classic car tag, there are certain criteria that must be met. So even though this is in compliance, I just wanted to get it on the record because I do know that some of the neighbors will continue to complain, but they are legal and they are up to code.
So the minutes will reflect this property is in compliance.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's
I will have
Yeah,
to
but
say,
not-
I walk by there a couple times a week, and the car had a regular Florida license plate on it
Yes.
at one point, and
Mhm.
now it has an antique
Yes.
plate on. But, the windows aren't up. The front windows are down. It just looks, I'll agree,
Yeah.
it looks awful, but if they're in
Yeah.
compliance, they're in compliance.
And like I said, I had spoke to the owner and he said that is the way he likes and wants to keep the car. And we can't, just like I can't tell someone they have to paint their house a certain color.
That's fine.
So I just wanted to get that on the record because I know we will be hearing more about it, but it has been addressed.
I'm just curious because obviously we expect people to have their house painted. So we would cite somebody for a house that obviously there was needed paint seriously. Right? So it's kind of interesting that we would not do this. I mean,
We
a
don't
car
have-
also, or
It's an antique car.
We don't have a code.
Yeah, there's no code section to govern it. I don't know whether you can make somebody
put in the garage.
paint. Yeah, it'd be nice. I mean, you'd think people do that or put a cover on it or something, but yeah, there's no code that,
Is this something that we should recommend to the town council that maybe we should, is because obviously things come up, no one thinks of it. Now we have a situation.
I wouldn't because it's a classic car and some people like to keep the original paint on them. So it'd be very difficult to tell a vehicle owner that because your car is faded, even though that's the way you like it, that you're forced to paint it. A house is a little different because a house is, property. And if there's discoloration on a house, it then could become like a public nuisance. But vehicles, like,
It's rusting, right?
but it's the original body, it's the original style, it's had no work done to it. That's why it received the antique tag.
I guess we could ask if there's existing ordinances in other communities.
yeah, we could check, but I've never heard of anything.
Yeah.
I would think that's stepping a little bit over the line.
Yeah.
And then you get in there, maybe the person that owns this house, maybe don't like the way his car is,
Mhm.
the writing on the car and
It's a gray area.
I think we're getting into the soup.
Yeah.
Well, if there's no objection, we'll move on to the next case.
All right.
So they're in compliance then.
They're in compliance.
So the next case is going to be 25-0014. This one is also in compliance, but based on Facebook postings and other postings, I want to get it on the record to state that this was addressed. All safety issues of it were resolved. So this was, one second. Hold on. I'm sorry, case 25-0045. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So 7209 Venetian Way, this one is in full compliance, but because of posts online saying this was a health and safety, the town wasn't doing anything, PD wasn't doing anything, I want to put on record that this was addressed. So under code section 26-2276, there was a older Mazda Miata that was on front jacks and it was not being currently worked on. I cited it. I posted to the property. Within an hour, I heard from the owner. They explained to me that their oldest son was working on the vehicle. I explained to them that, okay, when the vehicle is being worked on, that's fine. When it's not being attended, the jacks have to come off of it. So this remained in violation until today, just because that's the way I do it in case they were to put it back up on the jacks and God forbid someone got hurt. Other people had come in complaining about this car because they don't like that it's being worked on. But from the town side, they came into compliance. None of the work being done on it was considered heavy. It was an oil change. It was a simple brake pad change out, which led, and they also changed out some of the tubing that had rotted. None of that is considered heavy mechanical work.
So
Again,
the car's not up on jacks anymore.
It's not up on jacks
All right.
anymore. But according to the Facebook post, you would think it was.
So in compliance.
Yes, sir.
Okay. 25-0046.
Yes. Before I present this one, I do want to let you know this is a repeat violator of a repeat violator, and I will get to that. I am Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores. This is case number 25-0046. Property owner identified by Nuevmar LLC. Site property address is 7423 Clark Road, Lake Clark Shores, Florida, 33406. On 2/7/2025, which was a Saturday, I issued a notice of violation for section 10-91 sub A under repeat violator for this. There was a bathroom remodel that was being done without a permit. I took these photos on Saturday. I had my suspicions, but I waited until I got confirmation from Melissa and from Joe, the building inspector. They both confirmed that based on the material seen there, that this was in fact a bathroom remodel. Based on that, I issued the violation. On 2/14/2025, a notice of hearing was issued. Photos weren't taken today because obviously this has been removed, but I just wanted to show you that these were the initial photos taken so you can see it. As of today's date, we have not heard from the property owner. No permits have been pulled. And to continue on, one of the other properties that was previously heard, which this property owner owns, was address 7926 Pine Tree Lane. They were cited under code section 10-91 sub A. They were found in violation and they were put on a fine of $250 a day. And this was back in September. Another property that was cited and heard before the board was 7512 Arlington Drive. This was the property that they had all the back windows removed and resized.
Same company,
Same owner.
same owner, yeah.
Same owner. So it is my recommendation based on the repeat violator factor and under Florida Statute 162 to impose the maximum fine of $500 per day. It's up to you when you want to pose it, but the date that I issued the notice of violation, you can start it on based on the repeat violator statute and Bill, that is correct, right?
That is correct. yes.
Okay.
For the record, I walk by this property almost every day. And they've been doing work in that property.
She
For
owns several
probably
properties. We've caught 4 of her properties doing work without permits. So I don't have anything else to say. I mean, she's been caught, she's been cited, and I believe she still has a running lien on the one in Arlington.
Did they pay the fine, the last one we fined them?
Emily?
Yeah, they
Okay.
did the 4 times fee and Juju paid it.
They paid the quad fee for the permit.
But they didn't pay the fine.
I don't know
It
if
doesn't sound like it.
the fine.
No, there hasn't been any payments.
Okay, so there's been no payments toward the previous fine.
So has that come to us for a lien imposition?
Yeah.
Yeah, lien was recorded.
Oh,
Is there any way we can get a list of all of the liens that the town has running? Just out of
so it's
curiosity.
not homesteaded and it's a lien on the property. Why can't the town foreclose?
Well, I
sorry.
think usually we have to wait a few months before we can do that.
Yeah, it has to be 3 months after
And-
recording.
And when was the lien previously recorded, Emily?
Hold on, let me find the file.
But if it's homestead, you cannot. Now, these probably aren't if
Probably
it's somebody.
not.
No,
Owned by an
they're under a
LLC.
limited,
Yeah, they're all LLCs.
so no.
The one for the property shown, 7926 Pine Tree Lane, was given $250 a day fines and a fine accrued to over $2,000, or I should say $2,000 exactly for that
Yes.
property. For 7512 Arlington Drive, I'm not sure what that's accrued to.
Hold on, 75.
That 1 to 2,000, they came in compliance and then that was a fine, or never came in compliance and
It came into compliance for that one. I'm not sure if they paid the fine.
And we filed a lien. It's come to us for a lien imposition on that one or not yet?
That's what I'm looking at right
Yeah,
now.
Emily's looking it up for you. But as for the one being heard today, based on the repeat violator,
You said 7512 Arlington?
yes, that's what I have, 7512 Arlington.
Okay, I don't have that in my folders here for
So maybe
before
they
the
pulled the
board.
permits for it. That might have been the one where she pulled the permits, but she didn't want to pay the 4 times fee.
No, I don't have any orders for that property,
Okay.
and it's not on my lien list.
Okay. So they must have came in compliance from the violation.
Okay, so back to this property. It has an existing lien on the property.
No, not this one. This is 7423 one of her other properties,
Oh, not this one though.
no, but she is the same.
Right, I
owner,
hear
and
you.
This is the same code section cited.
And Emily's saying
Yes,
that,
there is a lien right now at 7926 Pine Tree Lane. And
and how long has that been in existence?
the lien was imposed last month.
Last month.
Mhm.
Okay, so they got a couple more months to.
So after 90 days then, or does that come to us?
Well,
Comes back to authorize.
Yeah, I would think though that, I think you have to evaluate if it's worth it for the town to do, because it's a money thing, you
Well,
know.
we don't do
But-
that. We don't evaluate that's not our prerogative, is it?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Right now, there's the total fine is $2,000. If it costs the town, I don't know how much in attorney's fees, it might not, I don't know. That's,
But
What?
then they, if
I sus-
otherwise,
Yeah, I was going to say, I suspect if the town threatened to foreclose, they'd probably make a payment for 2,000.
Mhm.
You know, when it's 80,000, you have a different situation.
because
Yeah.
otherwise it's gonna sell next week, next month,
Yeah.
next year.
She's a repeat offender.
And also with
the
this
only-
property being heard tonight, 7423, there's a for sale sign / a lease sign. So
Well, the lien will show
There
on
is
a title
Sale
search.
sign on 7423.
yes, and also lease, a lease sign. So that's why I want her labeled as a repeat violator, the $500 fine per you guys, if you would authorize it. And I'm asking to impose a fine as of the day that I wrote the NOV, seeing as she's had so many other properties that have been in
Mhm.
violation. Clearly, there's no respect for the process.
Okay, so my question is, Bill, when's the earliest we can impose the fine on this property?
February 7th.
February 7th. Okay.
Now, if she's got us for sale sign, what can we do? Emily, if you can tell me, what can we do? So whatever fine is assessed, that the town, if she gets a seller, that, you know, the title company or whatever, hey, you got a running fine here. Is there some way to notify public records or whatever? If she's trying to sell the property currently, this person
Well-
obviously doesn't care.
yeah, I drove by that property. I just saw a for lease sign. I didn't see for sale, but maybe it's correct. Usually if somebody sells their house, they're gonna do a lien search with the town, and so that's when they would find out that a fine has been imposed.
Yeah. So let's,
So a fine, doesn't have to be a lien, but a fine, a running.
Yes, yeah.
Well, once it's recorded, it's a lien.
Right.
So,
let's
yeah.
move forward with the $500 a day fine effective 2/7.
I'll do it.
Okay.
All
So
right.
it's a number one, right?
Yep.
It's number one, other than you want to say that you're finding a repeat violation.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 25-0046, I move that this board find the respondent in violation of sections 10-91 sub A repeat violator of the town code of ordinances. And respondent shall comply with the town code of ordinances. I guess on February 7th, but it's past date. Am I allowed to say a past date?
February
Yep.
7th. Yep.
February
For a
7th.
repeat, you are, yes.
Yeah, for a repeat offender. I'm gonna be stating February 7th of 2025. And if the respondents fail to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed, and let me repeat, this is a repeat offender, $500 per day may be imposed. A
Well,
fine shall-
you want to change that. I guess it isn't truly a number one. But what you want to say is that a fine is imposed commencing February 7th in the amount of $500 per day and will continue to accrue at that daily rate until compliance is achieved.
Everybody okay with that motion?
I'm fine.
Yes.
Okay. Jerry made that motion.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Is
Yeah.
there a
To
second?
help.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion.
No.
You okay with that, Emily?
Yep.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think that's it.
Do we have a list of all the properties of this particular owner? Because to be honest with you, I guess they're kind of putting themselves a target. I hate to say it, but
This property
Repeat.
owner owns multiples.
In different names.
Yes,
Yes,
that's the problem that we run into is one can
they're
be.
not all under the same LLC.
Mhm.
she'll-
Well, wait, before we move on then, though, is that it's the same LLC that had the prior violation here? I mean,
Okay.
it has to be the same entity.
Yeah. Since we said repeat.
Yeah, just if it's the same owner, it would not be repeat. If it's-
No, it's not the same.
Well, do you have something for 7512 Edgewater Circle?
Yeah, this is the same.
7512.
But in this particular case, this LLC on
Well,
this property
hold on one
is
second,
not a
please.
repeat violator.
Well, it is
No.
7512 Edgewater Circle was also cited in. That's also New Mar LLC.
Yeah.
So Emily, can you look up that one?
What about 7926?
7926 is one under another one of her LLCs,
Oh, okay.
which is Coonan LLC.
Right,
But she's also the owner of that property.
so the LLC has to be the
so should we not, I mean, your
No, it's the
guys,
same.
Okay, so,
right.
so the one for 7512 Edgewater Circle, there was an order assessing a fine that was issued on December 5th.
Okay.
So it will come before the board again for a lien imposition hearing on March 26th, so next month.
So your order's still, Bill, the order's still good because they were already cited for another case under the same subsection with the same LLC. So what they
Yeah.
read off is still good.
As long as it's the same entity, same LLC, and the same code section
Yes.
for the
Okay.
violation,
So
then
what,
it can be repeat.
so what are we doing now that we know we have someone who's notoriously a repeat offender? And then technicality, yes, there's different entities, but it's the same person. So is the town doing anything, I guess, to any other property that's owned by the same person, even though it's under other entities to
Well,
prevent this from continuing?
That's why once I saw 7423 on that Saturday, that's why I immediately snapped photos of it, sent it to the building department, had the building inspector review it. And that's why it came before you tonight as a repeat violator with a $500 a day fine. So any other properties that this property owner owns, if any other work is found, as long as it's under the same LLC, then you may impose the maximum of 500.
So is
But-
this person buying up property for rental property or are they flipping it?
I don't
Doing
really know.
Some of them,
Some are flip and
Yep.
some are rent.
some of them are flip, like most said, and some of them might be for rent.
But I think to answer your question, if they want to form a new entity for each ownership, there's probably nothing the town can do.
Right.
I'm not saying, but obviously I would think we would just, any business that's owned by this person, I would think we as a town should be on notice and be, I guess, be prudent and due diligence. I mean, it's not targeting, but
Well, the building
obviously it's
department
someone-
knows that whenever this particular property owner comes in, if they're trying to pull permits for anything, we usually have the building inspector then go out there to check the property just to see what else is going on. Like for for this one, that's why I snapped photos and immediately sent it to Melissa and the building inspector. That way I could get their opinion on it. Just like at 7512 Edgewater Circle, when that one was seen, and then 7926. So we are staying on top of them and she is being caught.
and she keeps going.
Yes.
And I'll say, I don't think she's ever come to any of the hearings, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I just feel like this person is blatantly, they know what they're doing. It's just a matter of dollars and cents. I'll sell it for whatever, but it's, I mean,
I can't definitively say, but from professional speculation, that's what it feels like.
Does she happen to be the real estate agent that's handling the sale of the properties?
I don't know.
But she also does have a house in town in her name.
Mhm.
So
Well,
Okay, well,
so we're going to move on to I guess that's where we are right now, huh?
Yep.
Board comments and suggestions, updates.
I have one just I'm curious about, only because it's been a while. I believe it's the home on 7730. That was the one that they put a new roof, I guess. Is there anything being done with that home or moving forward? I know that that was also under some sort of investigation as well and everything, but what's going on with that home, or we're not taking care of it anymore? Are we still taking care of it as a town nuisance?
No, we're not.
Okay, so is there current work permits on that house? Because I know they have a sign out there, make it look like there's a,
The permit was approved with an engineer's letter.
and then,
Roof was, I'm sorry.
yeah, just a roof. Is there any, I guess, what's going on with that house? I guess that's,
The case has been scheduled for trial. I think it was, I sent something to Emily, was it June?
Yeah,
I think it's
I
June.
can't remember, sorry.
Yeah, I don't remember either, but it is scheduled for trial. So finally, there's going to be some movement on the legal side. And that trial would entail the foreclosure as well as the ownership issue between the daughter and this other company.
okay. Just curious.
I have a question, Eric.
Mhm.
Do you have a, how do you say, let's put it, if you find a property in violation, let's say somewhere during the month,
Mhm.
what's the maximum amount of time it should take for us to see the property before us if they haven't come in to compliance with your notice?
Well, so I can give a maximum of a written 30-day time period for the NOV. But if the property owner contacts me and has a particular situation requesting more time, as long as it's warranted, health and safeties are excluded. But let's say, for example, you have a dirty roof, but you have a senior citizen family, or you have someone that just had a death in the family or financial hardship, I do then grant a little more time. And if they do not comply within the additional time that I give, then they're issued a notice of hearing to the next code board meeting.
What's that additional time on you give 30 days standard. So if you give additional time,
It could be a maximum of 30. You can't go past another 30.
so you're saying total 60 would be the,
Total of 60, yeah. That's the maximum that I can feasibly, do, because then at that point, it has to come before a hearing.
so, okay, I'm kind of, so if we do 60 days, I'm just thinking, so really, we wouldn't see it till 90 days it would be 30 days later that we
Well,
would see it in one of our meetings.
It depends on what day of the month it is too. Let's say code board falls on the 26th, say the violation was issued on the 15th, 60 days come up, and then you have 15 days, or I should say like less than 10 days before the next code board meeting. Can't take them because they have to be given at least 10 days prior notice. That's where some of them get these weird, where like you'll see all the other ones come in like cited, brought, cited and not brought for a couple months. And I'm sure you look at it like, what's going on with that? It's usually because they were given an extension, and then sometimes the more important stuff comes before the code board. Let's say a dirty roof or a dirty driveway versus work without a permit, a repeat violator. I would then prioritize the most important ones. Or again, if it falls just shy of that 10-day period, because I want to make sure I'm always doing things the legal proper way.
How many cases would you say that you have out there?
Open?
Yeah,
I cited quite a few at the start of this month and also last month. So I probably have about 42 open that have about 15 to 20 due for re-inspections, with another 5 to 7 where they called in that are ready for an inspection. I've also sent out almost 100 golf cart re-inspection forms. I've got 25 scheduled with 9 that have been completed. We have an additional 10 new golf carts that are going to be coming into to the town. So those will be initial setup. So that would be 200 for the initial for the license plate, and that warrants them an automatic 1-year tag. So I've done that. Then we're also working on sending out the business tax receipts. So the start of the year, January leading into February and March gets a little busy from other sides, just to give you a little more information.
And on the vacation rental properties,
Those are also coming back up.
are we dependent upon the owner to come to us and tell us
No.
that it's a,
I check Airbnb every single day. I check VRBO every single day. There's some other new sites that I have to learn because it seems like every day there's a new vacation rental site that I have to learn. And of course, none of them give you the full address because,
Right.
so I have to play a lot of hide and seek. Luckily, I have Lieutenant Fisher and I'll show her a house and she'll be like, I know exactly where that is. So I do have a very senior person who helps me identify some of them. But no, the vacation rental should be coming up for renewal this year. And me and Melissa work together on this, and she does not slack off when it comes to the business tax receipts, so
Those-
or the vacation rentals.
and those properties are inspected like once a year or?
Yes, yearly,
Mhm.
because they have to have those safety items, smoke detectors. They have to have certain documentation put on the fridge, which is clearly visible. They have to have a fire extinguisher.
Right.
You have to have
Safety.
reasonable means of escape. So, yeah, pool has to be secured.
Okay. Emily, you're not going to be here next month. Is
No.
that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you have a little homework to do prior to the next meeting to make sure that we're going to be good.
Yes,
Okay. Anybody have anything else?
I have something.
Oh,
So for the September meeting, we're gonna have to move it. So September 24th is Rosh Hashanah. And the month of September is kind of a complicated month because we have 2 council meetings and we also have a zoning board meeting. And the council meetings cannot be at the same time, I think, as the county and maybe the school district because it's the budget time. So the dates that I have to propose for our code enforcement board meeting are September 16, 18, and 25. So I would like you to tell me which date you would like. Also for you, Eric, if one of those dates is better.
I would think 25, only
Yeah.
because
Yeah, I
that would
agree
give
with
everybody proper use site folks. I mean, it's only one day more.
that. And
Mhm.
it's still
I'm thinking,
it's still the 4th weekend, which is kind of standard for us. So
Right.
if the board members would agree, Melissa's good.
Are you okay, Bill?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That would be good.
September 25th.
Okay, so we'll do that, September 25th.
I'm doing this right now.
And you'll give us an extra reminder.
Yeah, we'll send out a new calendar.
Okay.
I'm changing it now.
Anybody else with anything?
No, just asked if we could possibly get a list of liens.
Yeah, if you want, I mean, whenever you want to see it, you can send me an email and I'll email
Okay.
it to you. Yeah.
You want to see it for the next meeting?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The thing is,
Oh, you're not going to be here next meeting.
no, but it's better for me to email it to you because it's a big spreadsheet and it's not going to print very well. It would have to be like on a huge piece of paper. So
I'm just curious,
Okay.
this whole vacation, and I'm glad, obviously, with our ordinance and everything else, and now we have someone that obviously may or may not have known, now they're, but do we as a town, I don't know, when new people move in, or if they're ever done, to notify things of this sort, like, hey, if you're ever planning to do a vacation home, I don't know, how do we educate people?
No, it's really, I mean, it's not a big town, but there's tons of homes. So that's why I do a lot of the investigation. Now, someone will call it in, like the one on Venetian that came here tonight. When residents call and notify me, I then do an investigation. If the building department gets wind of something, like if the building inspector goes out there and sees something that looks like a vacation rental, let me know. If Melissa's driving through town and sees something, she lets me know. So we all kind of work together as a team to try to identify them. And we do have quite a few vacation rentals that were found, and we got all of them registered, -2 where they decided it wasn't worth it, and now they live there.
Don't they
full-time.
also need to be registered with the Palm Beach County Tourist and Development Tax? Okay. I'm wondering if they could be a resource and provide you a list of any within our zip code here. You know, they may have skipped over the town requirement and gone straight to tourist development tax.
True.
A good idea.
That's-
Yeah, B.
That's
all
true.
right.
There you go. There's another resource I
Yes, you are.
can use. Yeah, and like I said, I found some properties where clearly the owners aren't living there, and they get cited to Papa, and I've gotten quite a few not so friendly phone calls, but it is what it is. Look, if you live there, homestead. If you don't, we all have to be treated fair and equally.
Right.
Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Just pick somebody, Emily. All those in
Okay.
favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Good job.
Meeting adjourned.
There you go.
I will take that now, so I don't forget it. Can I pull it?